What is up, everyone? I'm Vortex TCG, and I've got the final gameplay of this session between myself playing Justimon and my opponent playing, I guess, a fan favorite-ish of my channel, and it's my opponent is playing Shakkoumon. And he's done a lot of changes since the last time we've played, and if you're looking forward to this match, please do like and subscribe to the channel. I'm uploading every other day, and your support is greatly appreciated. But as you can see, the start here is pretty good for myself. I'm able to get into a Cyberdramon, get some searching going with the Rio, and I also got a Monodramon. But he's also got a pretty good start here with the Pegasusmon and the Armadillo. And you can see what's going to happen here. We've got the first Shakkoumon of the game, returning my Cyberdramon to my hand. So yeah, he then goes to swing and he gets to delete the Monodramon, so he has complete control of the board here, and it's a bit worrying because I don't really have an answer for the Shakkoumon. I can Digivolve him for sure, but I'm not too sure if I have enough in the tank to deal with this deck essentially. So my turn here is going to be passing with the Kazu. And so he's going to have a lot of aggression on his turn, so he goes into an Ankyomon here, preparing for potentially another Jogress or DNA Digievolution for a following turn, and he ends his turn by going into one of the Searchers, Armadillomon. And I'm kind of surprised at how good this deck is. Obviously, like, it's very reliable on getting the Angemon and the Shakkoumon, but I think it's a nice little hybrid deck. Not hybrid as in hybrid tamers, but like the mix of them all. So it's quite interesting to say the least. And so here I'm gonna get off some bonuses and pass the turn to him. So he's gonna go into a Patamon. I think this is the EX3 Patamon, so very interesting. And you know what's gonna happen? He's going to the next Shakkoumon to return. And yeah, he decides to go for a different play here. He doesn't want to risk swinging into security and getting rid of the Hagurumon here. He goes into the Seraphimon. Can't remember. Some of these cards I don't know, and I apologise. But I swing at the Hagurumon because I know it's going to die here essentially, and I believe it does. So is what it is. But at this moment, I've got to figure out a way to deal with the Seraphimon because it is a bit of a problem, to say the least. Because I believe on Digivolve it gets to recover, and on deletion it gets to recover as well. So he goes for a swing with the Pegasusmon, doesn't get a high DP in security, so the Pegasusmon is still here. A pretty big problem, I would say. And at this point I'm a bit worried because my opponent is very far ahead. Essentially, what I'm doing here is I'm trying to buy enough time to get into, you know, my OTK turn, because I know once I get into my OTK turn, I can pretty much deal with the whole security stack. It's just getting there, essentially. So what I do here is I go into the Blitz Arm, and I'm considering what I want to do here because part of me wants to, you know, delete the Ankyomon. But here I'm just going for the DP boost because I know there's stuff in his deck that reduces DP, and that's very important. So I'm just explaining here what I'm doing. So I unsuspend and delete the 5 cost, so he doesn't have lethal on me the next turn. I go into the Excel Arm, which allows me to gain piercing and security attack +1, so I'm able to clear the Patamon now. And I'm also able to do an additional 2 checks here, using the Excel Arm effect to go back into the Blitz Arm to unsuspend himself. So double check, and unfortunately I hit into the Arigato. Very unfortunate. We were discussing here, does the security check still go through? But I'm pretty sure it doesn't. Let me know in the comments if that is incorrect. I'm sure you will anyways, quite frankly. Yeah, so I've got through a lot of the security. I had to do a bit of a cut there because battery was dying. This game is sped up by 3 times. So Yeah, quite a long game for sure. And so he swings into security and then goes into the reinforcing. Not really good reinforcement targets here, but still gaining the security is still more than enough, and gaining a +3 memory on a following turn. Very strong. So at this point, all I got to think of is recovering my my level 6 stack, because I think at this point I'm not really worried about any other option going for me here. So I just end up the turn by going into the black memory boost, and he goes up to 4 memory, goes into the Digimon, and he swings, and it's an Izzy. So this is actually quite huge for me, because essentially now I have around 4 memory, 4 or 5 memory on the following turn. Obviously not here because the Kazu won't trigger, but on future turns, if there is a future turn, there is. Very important for sure. And so at this point, essentially what I'm doing is just making sure that the stack doesn't, the stack goes, and I'm able to swing for lethal here. And so here I'm able to search off another guy. And at this point I'm just considering, because at this point, I think at this point I can swing over the Seraphimon using the Rio, and that's what I do, but obviously he gets recovery. So now I'm looking at 6 security on his turn, and then what I end up doing here is going into the Blitz Arm. As he's used the Shakkoumon, I feel a bit more comfortable about this, so I end up just unsuspending here, and I don't think you'll have an answer for me. So I'm feeling very confident at this point if the turn goes the way I want it to. He gets my last security, and it is a Blitz Arm, so the Shakkoumon does end up going, and he goes into a Patamon and adds the Ophanimon full down mode. Another source of recovery, gains another 3 memory, and I believe what he ends up doing here is playing another Searcher, because at this point I think he's lacking it. No, he goes to the Pegasusmon to, I believe, turn off my guy for the turn, essentially, because obviously I will have lethal on the next turn, but now it's not looking so likely. But what I'm able to do here is control his field yet again, because as he hasn't got an egg anymore, he has to hard play everything, and everything that he hard plays is usually around like 4 to 3 memory. So yeah, I'm able to deal with the board. So I don't have security checks because of the Pegasusmon, but what I end up doing here is de-digivolving the Pegasusmon and then deleting both Patamons, so I have complete control of the field. And so what I end up doing here now is that I go into the Commandramon just to have some more aggression, going into the Tankmon. This is why I like Tankmon so much, you know, just a 1 cost, and then able to go into a level 5, and then boost up my my Tamer count even more. And you can see that my deck is very, very small at this point. This game has been going on for quite a while now, and so any draw effect that I have at this point is very detrimental, because essentially I've got to win on this turn. So I'm hoping that in the opponent's security he doesn't have anything, and as you can see he plays the Angiwomon, so pretty much I feel pretty good about going for lethal here. So I swing, unsuspend, and use effects. It's an Armadillomon, so I'm feeling very comfortable. Then I go into the Excel Arm, which allows me to gain security attack +1 and piercing. And then as I swing with it, I'm able to go back into the Blitz Arm, so do 2 checks. It does -3k, I believe that does. Swing again, doing an additional 2 checks and unsuspending. Swing again, and then swing for game. I think the first game ended up taking 30 minutes, so we were very close to time here. So my opponent gets to start off first, and he doesn't really have a good opening hand as he has to hard play the Kari. And so what I'm able to do here is go into the mono, go into the black memory boost, and then I'm able to set up my board a lot more quicker. I have the Tankmon here. Again, I love the Tankmon, and what I end up doing here is a little bit risky, but the reason why I end up hard playing the Mamimon here is because obviously from his play, it seems like he has no answer to anything. Like if he had a stack, I'd be a little bit more worried, but he doesn't have it. And as you can see, we get our entry packs here. We love it. Poggers. I get the Agumon. We love it. But yeah, so like he's had to hard play the Angelomon and then go into the Seraphimon. So at this point, to me, I'm looking really good. Like I feel a lot more confident about my play of playing the Mamimon. Obviously, if I was to, you know, just build up the stack, obviously it'll be a lot more safer and he'll be giving me a lot more memory on a following turn. But for me, I mean, it doesn't really make much of a difference to me because the Seraphimon doesn't really do anything on my turn other than, I believe, increasing security by... I don't know how much DP, but I think it's a DP amount. So he then plays the reinforcing and then puts one on top and adds one to the hand. And at this point, I'm looking good because essentially I've got a lot of the stuff here. So what I end up doing here is I de-digivolve the Seraphimon and then swing for 1 check. I believe it does minus 3k here, and then I go to the Excel arm, using its effect to swing, getting secure attack +1 and piercing. That's going to be like my new favourite phrase now, saying secure attack +1 and piercing. And I go back into the Blitz arm, do an additional 2 checks here, and Arigato. I think we misplayed here with the Arigato. I didn't realise this at the time, but when the Arigato is triggered, it's on free security, so he could have returned 1 to security and also do the minus DP. I don't think we noticed it at the time, so probably would have mattered, unfortunately, which sucks because I think this game was really entertaining. You know, it showed a lot of our decks, you know, and what they're capable of. So it's kind of sucky that it actually ended up mattering quite a bit. But these are the things that you just got to learn, you know, like you got to realize that you got to pick up on these misplays essentially. So my bad for not picking on that essentially. And so he goes into the Shakkoumon and he gets quite a lot of recovery here. It gets 2 security and also gains a memory from the DNA Digivolution. So he's recovering quite a bit here. Obviously not as much as in the first game, but he swings into security and I hit a black memory boost. And for me, that's not great because, you know, at this point, having the additional memory is pretty good. But he does have the removal because I believe he gets the removal because it's already been reduced. So, it's what it is. And so at this time, I'm just getting ready for my next turn because I know that my opponent can't really do like 4 security and then 1 swing for game on the following turn. So I'm just building up the stack slowly, getting everything ready for the next turn. And so he goes into another egg, goes to the Patamon. That Patamon's really good actually. In this kind of deck anyways. I wouldn't say it's like generically good, but the Patamon that gives you a memory when you reduce something to 0, I think it's a bit underrated, and I think this whole deck, to be fair, this whole Shakkoumon deck needs to be shown off and tested a lot more because I think there's something really good here. I know it was played a little bit, but didn't get the recognition, I don't think. So I put up the Cyberdramon, and at this point, I feel like I have pretty good control of the game. So I swing here, using this to gain additional 2k. Unsuspend itself to go into the Blitz arm, and swing, unsuspend, does minus 3k I believe. I'm forgetting about the de-digivolve here, I finally do it. Unsuspend, suspend these to gain a draw and discard each. And so then I have to consider what I'm doing here. So I swing into the Shakkoumon to control the board because I think at this point I misplayed here. I think I discarded the Excel arm when I didn't really mean to. So not the greatest thing here. And pass the turn with the Hogurumon. So my opponent now goes into the Pegasusmon and he has a lot of stuff to clear on this turn. Not too sure if it's possible, but I think now that he's going to the Patamon to search, I think at this point there isn't really much coming back from this. He's looking for the, I believe, the Shakkoumon to return the Justimon Blitz arm, but unfortunately it doesn't do enough. Swing to security 2 times, and he doesn't find the card he needs essentially. So he does it a little bit late, but it's whatever. Like, I'm not fussy about it at all. He's considering his options, and he goes to the Ankyomon to pass to a 3, and then I swing for game.